EDU-KV, let's come together to learn.
Hello friends, welcome to our YouTube channel Edu-KV. Today we shall discuss about the first chapter of class 11th Bio, the living world. In this chapter we will be able to learn defining feature of living organism, biodiversity, need for classification, taxonomical hierarchy and binomial nomenclature. Okay friends, let's start the topic one by one. As we try to identify and define living things, actually we try to identify and define living things, certain characteristics like growth, reproduction, response to environment, etc. come to our mind. Now the living things also exhibit other unique features like metabolism, reproduction, that is the ability to self-replicate. Reproduction is the ability to self-replicate, okay, self-organization, to be able to react to emergency, etc. Now let us discuss these features of living things in detail. First thing which comes to our mind is features of living organism. First thing is growth. Okay, first thing is growth. Now how will you define the growth? Growth means increase in mass and number. As all of you know that all living things grow, and growth is taken as an increase in mass and number. What do you infer by the term increase in mass? Actually, increase in mass refers to the intrinsic increase. Intrinsic increase or increase in the protoplasmic matter of the cell. Okay, these 2 points included in the increase in mass. First one is the intrinsic increase or increase in the protoplasmic matter of the cell, and it is one of the parameters of growth. Okay, इसका मतलब क्या है? अगर किसी को मास में इंक्रीज कराना है, that means it refers to the intrinsic increase or increase in the protoplasmic matter of the matter. Now the second point, increase in the number. It refers as the cell division. How number will increase in any living organism? The number will increase by the cell division. Okay, now in plant, actually plants grow continuously by cell division. Plants grow continuously by cell division. They have certain regions like shoot tip, root tip and cambium, which have meristematic tissue, and that allow them to grow continuously throughout their lifespan. Actually root tip, shoot tip or cambium, they have meristematic tissue, and you must have heard about the meristematic tissue. Meristematic tissues are those tissues which are continuously dividing tissues. They are made up of simple cells and they are continuously dividing, and they divide throughout their lifespan. This is the main difference between growth that are taking place in plants and the growth that are taking place in animals. In animals, growth takes place continuously throughout their lifespan, while in case of animals, they grow up to a certain age only, and the cell division is limited to certain cells only to replace the old, worn out or lost cells. Now, while in case of the unicellular organism, what happens, like bacteria and protists, you must have known this example of the unicellular organism, bacteria and protists. They grow in number by cell division, and the process is termed as binary fission. Here binary means two, fissions means breakdown. Actually, a single parent cell will divide into two daughter cells by the process of binary fissions, and within 24 hours a few organisms can give rise to a large colony, and it can be observed by counting their numbers under the microscope before and after a specific time. So after studying all these points of the growth, that first thing is that non-living grow with accumulation of material on the surfaces only, such as mountain will grow, but the material will accumulate only on the surfaces. Boulders, sand mounds, these are all non-living things, and they grow by accumulation of material on the surfaces. While in case of living organism, growth can be termed as for intrinsic purposes, for intrinsic cases, intrinsic increase. Now growth cannot be defined as a defining property, as we have already discussed here. Growth is extrinsic in non-living objects, while it is intrinsic in case of the living organism. Okay, while in case of the living objects, growth takes place from inside, or intrinsic growth takes place. Now this is all about the growth. Second point which comes to our mind is reproduction. Okay, reproduction means it is one of the most important characteristics of living organism. Living organisms actually reproduce asexually as well as sexually. Two different type mode of reproduction will take place in living organisms. First one is the asexual mode or sexual mode of reproduction. Sexual reproduction means production of the progeny possessing features more or less similar to those of parent. In case of the sexual reproduction, you must have studied in class 10th. Sexual reproduction, two parents are involving. First one is the male, another one is the female. Okay, and out of these two, the progeny will produce, the production of progeny possessing features more or less similar to those of parents. While in case of the asexual reproduction in living organism occurs by various means. And first important point that comes to our mind about asexual, A means antagonistic to the sexual reproduction. While in case of sexual reproduction, two parents are involving, while in case of asexual reproduction, single parent is involving. Okay, and asexual reproduction occurs by various means, by help of spores, by help of budding, by help of fragmentation, and binary fission. Okay, these are some of the aspects through which the asexual mode of reproduction takes place. While in case of the unicellular organism such as amoeba, bacteria, chlamydomonas, and there is the increase in number is defined as the growth. So it is unclear with the uses of the term, that is growth and reproduction. Growth और रिप्रोडक्शन दोनों कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं, क्लियर नहीं होते हैं. क्यों? ग्रोथ में भी नंबर इंक्रीज की बात आती है, while in case of the reproduction also number increase will take place. So many organisms do not reproduce. This is one of the exception, such as mules, sterile worker bee, and infertile human couples, while they were termed as living things. Okay, hence reproduction is defining features of living organism. Non-living do not reproduce. This is the main important factor, that non-living objects are not capable of reproducing or replicating themselves, while living organisms replicate themselves, with the exception that sterile worker honeybees, infertile human couples do not reproduce. Now, third point, which makes a clear-cut distinction between living and non-living, is metabolism. Okay, metabolism means all chemical reactions that occur in the living cells, which include catabolism and anabolism. Catabolism means the reaction that break down the material. Catabolism means all the reactions that are breaking down, means the reactions that are taking place inside the body in which a bigger molecule will break down into smaller molecule, and this is termed as catabolic reaction. Another one is the anabolic reaction, that is sum up reaction. This is the reaction that build the materials. Anabolic reaction that build the material. Common example of anabolic and catabolic reactions are that photosynthesis. Photosynthesis, in case of the photosynthesis, small molecule of carbon dioxide combines with water molecule. In presence of energy, they will form glucose molecule, and this is somewhat bigger than carbon dioxide and water molecule. So this reaction is termed as anabolic reaction. Anabolic means sum up reactions. Okay, that means the reaction that build the material. While respiration is an example, aerobic respiration is an example of catabolic reaction, in which a bigger, somewhat comparable bigger molecule, that is glucose molecule, in presence of oxygen breaks into CO2 and H2O, and this is known as catabolic reaction, that means breakdown reactions. All the chemical and biochemical reactions occur in living organism, whether they are unicellular or multicellular. A unicellular organism perform all metabolic reactions that are necessary and vital for its survival. आप समझिए, अगर कोई यूनिसेलुलर ऑर्गेनिज्म है या मल्टी सेलुलर ऑर्गेनिज्म है, दोनों के अंदर सारे मेटाबॉलिक रिएक्शंस टेक्स प्लेस करेंगे. इन मल्टी सेलुलर ऑर्गेनिज्म, वेदर इट इज ए प्लांट, एनिमल और फंजाई, they have metabolic reactions occurring in various systems as well as within the cells. While in case of unicellular organism, all sort of metabolic reaction including catabolic and anabolic reaction takes place inside or within a cell. Okay, now non-living objects do not exhibit metabolism, so that's why it is the defining feature of life form. They do not show reaction, but these occur outside in the cell-free system. Okay, an isolated metabolic reaction outside the body of an organism performed in a test tube is neither living nor non-living. This is the important point. If in a test tube or in vitro condition metabolic reactions takes place, that is known as performed outside, is neither living nor non-living. Okay, so in this way metabolism is a defining feature of all living organisms without exception. Okay, since metabolism occurs only inside the cells, hence cellular organization of the body is the defining feature of the life forms. There is another important point, that cellular organization is also termed as defining feature of life forms. Now the fourth one is the response to stimuli, or in other way it can be called as consciousness. That means response to stimuli. Living things are able to sense their surroundings or environment, and respond to these environmental stimuli, which could be physical, chemical or biological. Okay, plants respond to factors like water. They may respond to water, light, temperature, organism and pollutant. In the same way, prokaryote to eukaryote all can sense the environment. They respond to light by termed as photoperiodism. That means photoperiodism. Okay, means they respond, all these organisms from prokaryotes to eukaryotes, they respond to light by photoperiodism, to seasons by showing cyclic variations. Human beings are the only organism who are not only conscious or aware of the outside environment but aware of themselves. That means they have self-consciousness. This is the USP of human being, that human beings are not only the conscious or aware of the outside environment, apart from this one they are self-conscious. Okay, since response to stimuli, that is awareness or consciousness, can be exhibited only by living beings, consciousness is the defining feature of all living organisms. In the hierarchy of organizational complexity of organism, the property of the living organism is due to the interactions occurring in the organ system, organ tissue and cellular system. And in this way, the living organisms are self-replicating, evolving and self-regulating interactive systems capable of responding to external stimuli. Okay, these are the some important points about the difference between living and non-living. Please subscribe, like and share the channel.